Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to get into some really cool stuff today?
Always.
So we're going to be talking about nature and how it can actually reduce physical pain,
Yeah.
like real physical pain,
Yeah.
not just like a, oh, this makes me feel good kind of thing.
Exactly.
We're looking at a study from Nature Communications,
Okay.
and this study actually used brain scans
Wow.
to figure out what's going on in our brains
Okay.
when we experience nature, and also they use electric shocks.
What really electric shocks?
Yeah. So
I'm intrigued.
it's a really fascinating study.
Okay, well, I'm ready.
So
Especially on me.
before we get into those shocking results,
Okay.
and you can kind of set the scene for us.
Yeah.
What exactly did they do in this study?
So they gathered 49 participants in Austria,
Okay.
and they had them lie in an fMRI machine,
Okay.
which basically is a big brain scanner that shows brain activity in real time.
Gotcha.
While they're in the scanner, they showed them 3 different visual environments: a beautiful lake surrounded by trees,
Right.
an urban setting by that same lake,
So it's the same lake.
and a typical office space.
Oh, so it's the same lake for both the nature and the urban setting.
Exactly.
Okay.
It controlled for things like weather size of the lake and allowed them to really pinpoint nature's effect.
That's really clever. I like that a lot.
Uh-huh.
So we've got people in a brain scanner.
Uh-huh.
They're looking at these different scenes.
Yeah.
Where does the pain part come in, though?
So they use small electric shocks to the participants' hands.
Ouch.
It's a very safe and
Ouch.
controlled way
Yeah.
to induce pain.
So they're getting these little zaps while looking at different scenes.
Yes.
And then what?
So then the participants had to rate how intense and unpleasant each shock felt.
Okay.
And this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So when they were looking at the nature scenes, they consistently reported that the shocks felt less painful
Oh, wow.
and less unpleasant.
So just looking at a picture of trees and water made it physically less intense.
And it wasn't just a subjective thing.
Go.
The fMRI scans backed it up.
Oh, wow.
They showed a decrease in activity in the parts of the brain that process pain
That's wild.
when they were looking at those nature scenes.
This is really making me rethink my whole relationship with nature.
Yeah.
I never thought about it in terms of like my physical pain before.
Yeah.
But I got to ask, like, couldn't this just be the power of suggestion?
That's a great question, and it's one the researchers thought of, too.
Okay.
They used advanced machine learning analysis to dig deeper into the data.
Okay.
What they found was that nature scenes weren't just affecting the emotional response to the pain.
Okay.
They were actually reducing the raw sensory pain signals that the brain receives.
So like our brains aren't even fully registering the pain because nature is stepping in and being like, no, 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 no.
Right, like dialing it down
Yeah.
at the source.
Wow.
So this is saying nature has this fundamental shift in how we perceive pain at a sensory level.
That's incredible. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But I got to ask the tough question. How does this compare to like taking a painkiller?
Right,
If I have a headache,
right.
should I go on a hike or should I take an aspirin?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We need to be realistic about these findings.
Yeah.
While the impact of nature was significant, it was roughly half as effective as conventional pain medication.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's not incredibly valuable.
So it's like a tool in the toolkit.
Exactly. Think about if you could reduce your reliance on medication
Yeah.
by incorporating nature.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yes.
Especially if it meant fewer side effects.
Exactly.
But what about people who can't easily access nature?
Right.
People who are stuck in hospitals or have limited mobility.
Well, that's where things get even more fascinating.
Okay.
This study supports research from decades ago.
Okay.
We're talking 40 years back.
Wow.
They found that hospital patients with views of greenery needed fewer painkillers and recovered faster.
Hold on. Are you saying that just looking out of your window at a tree can make a difference?
Well, they found that it did make a difference.
Wow. That's amazing to think that something as simple as a window view could have such a huge impact.
Yeah.
It really shows you how connected we are to nature, but how does it actually work?
Right.
What's the magic ingredient that makes nature such a good pain reliever?
It's not really a single magic ingredient.
Okay.
It's more like a symphony of factors working together.
Okay.
One theory is that nature exposure reduces stress and anxiety,
Okay.
which we know can make pain feel even worse.
That makes sense.
Right.
When you're stressed out, everything feels worse.
Exactly.
Like,
And studies have shown that being in nature can lower levels of stress hormones like cortisol.
okay, so it's like a chemical thing too.
Exactly.
That's happening in our brains.
Another theory is that in our modern world,
Okay.
Our attention is constantly bombarded with stimuli
Yeah.
that can actually increase our sensitivity to pain.
So you're saying that nature helps by giving our brains a break from all that overstimulation.
It's more than just distraction.
Okay.
Nature seems to capture our attention in a gentle and effortless way,
Okay.
allowing our minds to rest and recover.
That's so true. It's like we can't help but look at it,
Right.
but we're not like, oh, I got to look at this.
Exactly. And this is called soft fascination,
Okay.
which can help reduce our overall mental load,
Okay.
making us less susceptible to pain signals.
I like that self-fascination. Sounds very poetic. So it's like nature gives our brains a vacation,
Yeah,
and that vacation helps us manage pain better. I
exactly.
like that a lot.
Right.
But you mentioned several theories.
Right.
What are some other ideas about how this works?
So there's also a theory of biophilia,
Okay.
which is this idea that humans have this innate connection to the natural world
Okay.
because we evolved in it.
Biophilia. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Isn't it the idea that we're like hardwired to find nature calming?
Exactly.
Like it's in our DNA?
Right. And this connection isn't just psychological. It seems to have a physiological basis as well.
Okay.
Exposure to nature can trigger the release of endorphins,
Ooh, yeah, the feel-good chemicals.
which are our body's natural painkillers.
So it's like nature is giving us a dose of our own internal medicine cabinet.
Right.
Nature is reducing our stress.
Right.
It's giving our attention this like soft fascination.
Yeah.
And it's releasing those feel-good chemicals in our brain.
Yeah.
It's like a triple threat against pain.
It's a truly remarkable synergy, and the more we learn about these mechanisms,
Yeah.
the better we can harness nature's power for our well-being.
This is making me very inspired to go outside. I got to ask, is any kind of nature good enough?
Right.
Does it have to be a pristine forest, or can a city park work?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that researchers are still trying to figure out.
Okay.
Preliminary studies are suggesting that even small doses, like a walk in the park or even just looking at trees from a window,
Okay.
can have positive effects.
So we don't need to book a trip to the Amazon to reap the benefits.
Not at all.
That's really good to know. That's good news for city dwellers.
Right. Even incorporating small bits of nature into our daily lives can make a difference.
Okay.
Take a few minutes to step outside.
Yeah.
Look at the clouds. Listen to the birds singing.
I like that.
Those little moments can really add up.
Yeah, those little moments are sometimes the best.
Yeah.
But I am curious about those virtual nature experiences that you mentioned before. How do those compare to the real thing?
So virtual nature can't fully replicate the multi-sensory experience of actually being immersed in nature,
Okay.
but it's showing real promise as a therapeutic tool.
Okay.
Studies have found that even watching videos of nature scenes can reduce stress, anxiety, and pain levels.
So it's not just about being physically present in nature.
Exactly.
Even seeing it can make an impact.
Precisely. And this opens up so many possibilities.
Okay.
Imagine being able to access the calming effects of a forest
Okay.
or a beach from the comfort of your own home or even a hospital bed.
That's pretty incredible. It could really change things
Right.
for people who can't easily get out into nature.
Exactly.
And how does it actually work?
Right.
Are our brains like tricked into thinking that we're in nature?
It's not so much about tricking the brain as it is about tapping into those same neural pathways
Okay.
that are activated by real nature experiences.
Okay.
So even though we know we're watching a screen,
Yeah.
our brains still respond to those visual and auditory cues,
Right.
triggering the release of feel-good chemicals and reducing stress.
It's so cool how our brains work. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. We may not be physically in nature,
Right.
but our brains are still reacting as if we were.
Exactly.
This is all so fascinating.
Whoa.
We've gone from simple pain relief to like
Yeah.
this huge impact of nature on our brains and our bodies.
Right.
And it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you think our listeners should know
Sure.
about this connection between nature and pain relief?
I think it's important to remember this is a relatively new area of research,
Okay.
and we need more studies to fully understand how nature impacts pain.
Okay.
But one thing is clear, nature isn't just a pretty backdrop.
Yeah.
It's an essential part of our well-being.
I like that nature's not just a bonus. It's like a vital part of our health.
Absolutely. And the more we integrate nature into our lives,
Yeah.
the more we can benefit from its amazing healing power.
It makes me think about all the different ways that we can bring nature into our lives.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very inspired. So what does all of this mean for our listeners?
Right.
What's the takeaway message that they can apply to their own lives?
The takeaway is that nature is a powerful ally in the fight against pain.
Okay.
Whether it's a walk in the park, a view of trees from your window,
Yeah.
or even a virtual nature experience,
Okay.
incorporating nature into your life can have a real impact on your well-being.
And it's not just about pain relief.
Right.
We've talked about stress reduction, improved mood, and even faster healing.
Exactly.
Nature is a true multitasker when it comes to our health.
It really is. And the best part is it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
We don't need fancy equipment or expensive medications to tap into nature's healing power.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We started with a simple question about nature's ability to reduce pain.
Yeah.
And we've ended up exploring this huge impact that nature has
Boy.
on our brains,
Yeah.
our bodies, and our overall well-being.
It's really amazing what we can learn when we combine scientific inquiry with an appreciation for the natural world.
I like that. Well said.
Uh,
Okay, before we let our listeners go,
okay.
I want to leave them with one final thought.
Yeah.
Is simply looking at pictures of nature
Right.
can have such a huge effect on our brains and bodies.
Yeah.
Imagine the possibilities of actually immersing ourselves in nature.
That's a great point.
Right.
I encourage everyone listening to explore this for themselves. Step outside, take a deep breath, and connect with the natural world.
I love it.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
I couldn't agree more.
Ah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
Yes.
and keep connecting with the power of nature.
And, you don't have to climb a mountain or hike through a rainforest to get those benefits.
Right.
Even something as simple as like having a plant on your desk or listening to nature sounds
Oh, yeah.
can shift your mindset
Well,
and
yeah.
create a sense of calm.
Yeah, I have a little peace lily on my desk, and it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides to using nature for pain relief?
That's a good question.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, like any therapeutic approach, it's important to be realistic and consider the whole picture.
Like,
Nature exposure isn't a cure-all,
right.
and it's not going to be effective for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people might have allergies or sensitivities that make it difficult to spend time outdoors.
That's true. And there's also safety considerations, too.
Exactly.
Especially if someone has mobility issues.
Right.
Or they're dealing with chronic pain.
Yeah, you don't want anyone pushing themselves beyond their limits.
Right. So it's about being smart and using nature as a tool.
Exactly.
Not like a replacement for conventional medical care.
Right. Work with your doctor.
Yeah.
Find the right balance.
Find what works for you.
Yeah.
So for someone listening who's thinking, okay, I'm ready to give this nature thing a try.
Yeah.
Where's a good place to start?
I would say start small and simple.
Okay.
Take a few minutes each day to step outside
Yeah.
and really engage your senses.
Okay.
Notice the colors of the leaves,
Okay.
the sounds of the birds,
No.
the scent of the air.
I like that.
Even if you live in a city,
Okay.
there are pockets of nature to be found.
Great.
A park,
Yeah.
a tree-lined street,
Yeah.
maybe even just a potted plant on your balcony.
Right. And if getting outdoors is a challenge,
Yes.
you can always bring nature inside. Houseplants,
Yeah.
nature documentaries, even just listening to some calming nature sounds.
Those are all great options.
And don't underestimate the power of just observation.
Right.
Just looking at nature and really noticing it.
Exactly. Pay attention to the details.
Okay.
The way the sunlight filters through the leaves,
Yeah.
the intricate patterns on a flower, the sound of the wind rustling through the trees.
It's like a mini meditation
Yeah,
in the middle of our busy lives.
exactly. It's about finding those moments of peace and connection,
Yeah.
even in the most unexpected places.
Well, this has been such an interesting conversation.
It has.
We explored the science behind nature's pain-relieving power.
Right.
We talked about the benefits and the limitations.
Yeah.
We even got some practical tips
We did.
for how to incorporate nature into our everyday lives.
It's a good reminder that nature isn't just a luxury or an escape.
Yeah,
It's an essential part of who we are.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listener with a challenge. I challenge you to find one small way to connect with nature today.
I like that.
Whether it's a quick walk, a moment of observation, or bringing a little bit of nature into your home.
I second that challenge.
Yeah, and remember, even the smallest steps
Right.
can make a huge difference in your well-being.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and embrace the healing power of nature.
I agree with all of that.